joins us. He is the car chief for the number 36 for TBR. And Patrick, welcome to the show.
Hey, good afternoon. Sorry about picking my daughter up.
Well, hey, that's okay. I will never begrudge you that. I would hate to have her hanging out in front of the pool hall for an extra hour.
Well, yeah, I would be. I'd be really worse of that than I already am for not picking her up and being gone 4 days a week. So
that's right.
But other than that, how's everybody doing?
Hey, we're doing great, actually. Patrick, it's been a long time since we've talked to you, but the reason I wanted to call, a couple of different things. First of all, the question is about Bristol, and Charlie and I were making fun of whether or not this was the old new Bristol or the new old Bristol. Going someplace that you've been to a number of times, and they've changed the racetrack, and there's not been a whole heck of a lot of testing. Where do you start as far as setting up a car, and what do you do? How do you attack the weekend?
Well, I mean, we're going to go with the 36 car with Dave Blaney, just the way that they ran in the spring. We're going to start there, and from the stuff that we've heard, all they've really done is the second and third grooves are gone, and it's just real slick up there, and there's not a lot of grip. So we're starting just how we raced in the spring, and then we'll work from there. I think we got 2.5 hours of practice on Friday, so I'm sure it'll be different, but we don't really know for sure. Other than it's just going to be back to basically one groove, and should be a lot more exciting Saturday night. I mean, we'll know more tomorrow night after the truck race, I think, as to how it's going to be.
How difficult is it for you guys to practice during the day and in the sunshine and then try and set up the car for a race that's under the lights?
Because of the concrete, it doesn't change temperature-wise, but it's more of rubber. More rubber gets down, it builds up, and that's when the track changes more, kind of like at Dover and Bristol and those places. It kind of stays the same, but just the rubber buildup off the corners, that's what affects it more. So as the weekend goes on, that's how it changes. You'll see the rubber stack up there off the corners, and it just it makes you slick. If you're tight, you get tighter. If you're loose, you get looser.
Patrick, going there with a driver like Dave, who's driven at Bristol a lot, has a lot of experience in Cup cars. Do you give him any input as to the way you would prefer that he runs a race there, or do you just kind of leave it to the driver to decide it? Because that Bristol is such a, I mean, I don't know, I guess it's kind of a crapshoot as to whether you get caught up in something. Do you leave that up to the driver, or do you make a suggestion as to maybe a strategy that's worked for you in the past?
I mean, because Dave has a lot of experience, I mean, he does have experience there, so that's what that's why you hire a guy like that. But they, you kind of just have to go race because stuff does happen there, and you can't hide. You can't get out of the way. Right. So you just have to go race, and if something happens, it happens. But, again, I'll be – it's like in the spring there wasn't a lot of cautions. It went green flag, and they were running 2 and 3 wide, and there was a lot of racing. So, again, the truck race tomorrow night everybody's going to be watching it to see what goes on. And I mean, Dave's son, Ryan Blaney's going to run the Keselowski truck tomorrow night, so he'll know what's going on. He'll be there with his son, so that'll help him out a little bit. But it's just going to be hard between tomorrow night and Friday night for the nationwide race, and then we'll know. I think we'll have a better idea how the race is going to unfold.
Talking with Patrick Donahue, he is the car chief for Tommy Baldwin Racing. The number 36 that Dave Blaney will run this weekend at Bristol. And Patrick, we always ask you these hard questions that don't necessarily affect you directly, but you're our go-to guy, so we do it anyhow. We put you on the spot. That's your job. All this stuff that's going on.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's why we pay you the big money.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks. All the stuff that's going on with what Brad Keselowski was saying about the Hendricks cars and the suspension changing, and now of course it looks like Roush Fenway has found this little trick or whatever. First of all, you have an idea what it is? Have you found the trick yourself? Where are you at? Tell me what the hell's going on is what I'm trying to come up with.
Well, I mean, I can't sit here and say for sure what they're doing or what they're not doing. What I can say is that everybody watches the race cars go down the straightaways, and they can see how out of shape they are, or we call it skewed.
Yeah,
right.
So anything you can do to maximize that, the spoiler being to the right, is a bonus. It just adds more side force to the car, and it allows the driver to drive harder into the corner and keep it from being loose. And so, again, I'm not knowing exactly the pieces that everybody's running. Everybody is trying to maximize those areas. And some people are doing it better than others, hands down. They've made some rules in the Nationwide Series to get away from that with the rear suspension, some of the parts and pieces. And, it's hard. I would say maybe in the next few weeks or so, they might implement those rules in the Cup car to try to keep people from skewing the cars a little bit more. So, again, I don't know the pieces, and I can't sit there and tell you for sure, but that's kind of what they're trying to do. Everybody's trying to do it, and some are just better than others.
At what point, you've worked for Hendrick, you've been around for a while. At what point is the reward against the risk versus the reward? These guys, they got to look at the rule book and say, hey, it doesn't say that I can't do this, so it's a gray area. So some guys are willing to try it. Brad Keselowski said that they weren't willing to try it because they were afraid of getting caught at Penske. You've been in that situation. Are you willing? Is it just a matter of willing to gamble in the rule and see if you get caught and your wrist slapped?
Well, the biggest problem, for a place like Tommy Baldwin, we can't. If we do something and get fined $25,000, that's a lot of money to Tommy's. So our risk reward is a little bit different. A place like Penske, Mr. Penske has a very good reputation. So it's, their risk is that they don't want to make him look bad, as Mr. Hendrick is. But, what those guys are doing is it's the gray area, and there's really no check for it. So they're really not, it's really a light gray, right now until they come up with some different rules. But, I don't, for us, if we get caught, it's a big risk, so those guys, they can afford it, but they can't afford to lose the points. So, that's kind of the line in the sand.
Well, it almost seems as if, this is what the fans used to kind of like about NASCAR was the ability of guys to innovate. And we've talked to you about that before, how there is so little room for innovation, it seems like. And you got to almost applaud guys who are willing to find that gray area and make it work. Because if at a certain point, if everybody finds that gray area and as everybody's doing it, you can't be fined for it, or you can't have points taken away because it's almost become acceptable at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if everybody's doing it. I don't know the percentage in the garage. It's getting up there, I think. But I think people are they're still finding the loopholes, but it costs you more and it costs you more time to figure that stuff out. And yeah, I mean, it stinks a little bit that you don't have all that room to play with. And I don't know. On some days it's good and other days it's bad. But for a place like us, we fight every week just to get to the racetrack and race for 500 miles. That's our battle every week. So some of that stuff isn't going to make us win just because we have it. And their battles are a little bit different than ours.
All right, Patrick, thanks so much for spending time with us. We truly appreciate it. Every time something
guys.
comes up that's a tough question, we'll call you.
I'll try to be on time next time.
Hey, no problem. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks.
Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
Patrick Donahue, car chief for the number 32.
36.
36.